bank on the weekend. Talk dynasty with the Degens. Let's take a dive off the deep end. You like fantasy? We could be friends. Yeah, it's the Degens. Yeah, it's the dynasty Degens.
Did the video play for me? Did you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Came on just good.
Video did not play for me, but I guess we're live, baby. That is crazy.
Right.
I'm skipping out right now, but hey, welcome. We are live, baby. I don't know what happened right there, but I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We are Dynasty Degens. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I guess my computer just isn't showing video right now. That's okay though. Appreciate you guys tapping in today. I got a special guest, Mr. Frankie. Hit Twitter handle up top. Frankie's joining us from Canada, man. I've been talking to Frankie on and off the timeline for, it feels like years now. Always one of my favorite follows. Does great content, man. Is always fun to interact with. Frankie, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. What better time of the year? Draft season heating up. Football season almost here. Can't wait to talk favorite players, this or that. You know, we're going to compare some players with similar ADPs. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we're doing this or that today. So essentially we're taking guys with similar ADP, dynasty ADP, but this is kind of a take for this year. We're going to go into it, talk about who we prefer, who we think is going to essentially just take over that ADP and really just produce to a different level. And obviously it's a really difficult tap. So we pick guys that you might be having difficulty choosing. And we might actually have some trouble choosing ourselves. But ultimately, we're going to give you a take, and we're going to tell you where we stand. Before we do that, Chris, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, doing great, man. I got the NFC Championship on in the background here from last year. I think we'll be talking about one of those guys, a couple of those guys in this matchup from last year.
That was the game. You know, like if you're looking at it from the perspective, obviously Super Bowl was a wash. That NFC Championship was the Super Bowl.
The game.
It's all said and done. That was the game.
I wouldn't be shocked if these two teams are in it again this year. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know, man. I can't believe that whole video. I was sitting there waiting for it to play, and I was like, "Is this video play?" And now I feel silly, but let's get into it. Let's just talk ball right here.
Let's roll.
All right, we are going right into it right now, and our first setup right here is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs versus Bijan. So essentially, we got Frankie lined up for the gauntlet. I said, Frankie, you're going to be tapping in for the first time, and then you're going in right away to the 101 conversation with these two running backs. So this or that, we're going to choose who we want, and we're using Dynatized graphics. So if you're not familiar with Dynatized, we'll get into that a little later. All right, Frankie, let's get into it, baby. Who are you choosing right here?
All right, so before I say my pick, we got to just acknowledge that it's like there's no wrong answer here, obviously. These are the two clear-cut picks, I think, for first overall. My pushback is really that when I'm doing a lot of these best ball drafts or even some high-stake drafts on NFC, I always see Gibbs go first, like almost every time. And I don't think like the gap is wide enough to make it such a consensus pick for Gibbs to go one. I think it should be more like, 50-50. They're both studs. They're both workhorses, great in the passing game. My pick is Bijan Robinson just because, look what he did last year with scoring only 7 rushing touchdowns. Now Tyler Algier is gone. I know there's Brian Robinson, but he was barely used in San Fran. Like I think he's on the tail end of, his NFL career. Bijan is the total focal point of the Falcons offense. I think Tua Tagovailoa, I know he's banged up, but Tagovailoa is probably going to start early part of the year. Check down machine. We saw Bijan get 800 receiving yards last year, with a likely boost in rushing touchdowns and then the continued elite usage in the passing game. I lean Bijan, and plus like his frame, it just feels more set up for that kind of monster 400 touch type of workload. Whereas Gibbs, he's smaller. I know he's had a heavy workload, but like I feel more comfortable that Bijan could handle it. So I'm going to be a little bit contrarian and make my pick Bijan here. Or Bijan, sorry.
I like that. And I still say Bijan no matter what. I feel like that was
just
like ingrained into my brain. And I know that when I get on different pods, it's Bijan, and I don't drop it like that. But I think I'm with you on that. Honestly, I'm not going to get too deep into the other people's takes here, but I agree with you. I think that I just think that they're going to actually, they've kind of babied Bijan a little bit in the sense that they're preserving him. They want to really just like get the best out of Bijan and make sure that he's healthy and he's ready to go. But at some point in time, right, this guy's got to just get set loose. I think that he was at that cusp last year, and I think that we saw the writing on the wall. I agree that Tua is going to help him out, going to give the dump offs. And I just, I've been making this decision pretty easy for myself. I've been going Bijan pretty easily over Gibbs. Whenever I think Chris has been in a couple drafts with me where that's been the case. Chris, how do you feel, man? I know that I saw you go Gibbs one of these drafts not that long ago. So are you feeling that way or going the other way?
Well, okay. So let me explain, because I did go Gibbs at 101 in a recent Dynasty Superflex startup over Bijan, but that's because I own 9 shares of Bijan and two shares of Gibbs at that time, and I just wanted to hit up some Gibbs. I felt it was a little out of weight there, and so I wanted a little more Gibbs. But yeah, if it gun to my head, I would take Bijan. I love the Tua addition, the dump offs. I think Bijan could go for 1,000 and 1,000 this year, and his frame is bigger, so I think he holds up better. And I mean, we're splitting hairs here. So, I mean, if you can get a 4th on top of either one for flipping either, I mean, you're really gaining something. Because either of them.
I mean, if we're talking Dynasty, I'd gladly take any plus. I don't care what you get if you're going to get one or the other. And like Frankie said at the beginning, you are splitting hairs, and it's really, it's pick your, it is like the steak cut. Like you can't go wrong with a really good steak, but do you want a little more fat? Do you want it marbled? Like there's a little nuance to it, but like it depends on your mood, depends on what you're drinking. There's a lot of different variables there, but let's kick it over to you, Chris. I'm going to do one of the other ones. So we're talking essentially the 1 and 2 when it comes to wide receivers. I line both of you guys up, the 2 top running backs, and we'll talk the 2 top. And this is like, even Puka, there's always conversation about JSN. So I think that Chase, Puka, and JSN are kind of in their own little tier right now, especially when you're talking best ball. There is that those 3 guys are going back to back in some shape or form. But for the sake of this conversation, I figured these guys match up perfectly. And obviously you're talking about guys that flip-flopped and even with Chase being out with Burrow last year, this is the assumption that Burrow is going to be fully healthy. So where do you stand on these 2 guys?
Yeah. So, initially we had JSN lined up with Chase, but then we talked it over a little and brought Puka into the mix because I mean, if you look at the underdog drafts right now, it's Puka or Chase at the 103. And ironically, 2 out of the last 3 drafts I've had, I had the 103 and I split the pick 50-50. So just goes to show like these 2, both of them, let's see, last year Puka had 1,700 yards, Chase had 1,700 yards the year before. I mean, if you're looking to stack, Stafford is the cheaper option, right? So do you believe that Stafford will go for another 4,500 yards with an insane touchdown rate? I mean, Burrow's more likely to do that. And that's where I lean Chase in Dynasty because of Burrow, honestly. And then he's got a contract. He's signed through 2029. Puka, on the other hand, he's an unrestricted free agent after this season. And his off-the-field stuff isn't exactly as clean as Chase's has been. And in Puka, it just started like within the last 6 months, like this off season, really, where he's just kind of gone out of control. But according to the Rams, he checked into rehab and now he's ready for camp and whatnot. And I mean, when you look at the numbers, it really depends what season you want to look at. Like last season, Puka dominated Chase. But again, with Burrow being out half the season, you can't really put that against Chase, right? I mean, Flacco was still in there slinging it around for him, but he's not Joe Burrow. And as far as Puka goes, like, I don't know, you can't go wrong with either of them. But if I got to make my bet on it for this season, as long as Stafford is there, I know Puka is going to eat. And I think the ironic thing is there's still a little meat left on the bone there because Puka's snap share is down. I don't know if that number is on there or if you have it. But anyway, in 13 personnel, Devontae Adams was the guy on the field for the majority of those snaps until he got hurt, and then Puka got onto the field, so he increased his snap share then. So you know what I'm saying? Like, Puka actually, if he gets more snaps in that 13 personnel, he could actually score more. Like, Chase is actually a better red zone target than Puka as of right now. But again, it depends what McVay decides to do in the red zone with these two guys, with Puka and Adams. I think as long as Adams is healthy, he's probably going to be the guy out there. But I'm just saying the possibility is there for Puka to really eat even more than last year. And so that's why I kind of lean him for redraft. I don't know what you guys think.
How you feeling, Frankie?
For me,
I'll let you jump in here.
For me, obviously, again, just like with Bijan and Gibbs, we're splitting hairs, we're nitpicking. They're both excellent picks, but I'm going to lean Chase. And a tiebreaker for me could just be, you look at Chase, he's the primary red zone threat on the Bengals, 17 touchdowns in 2024. And then you look at the Rams, Devontae Adams, when they're inside the 10, that's their primary red zone threat. So I think Chase has more touchdown upside as long as Burrow stays healthy. But that just puts him slightly ahead for me. And, in terms of drafting this year, I'd rather stack Burrow with Chase. Obviously, Burrow goes way higher than Stafford, but it's more because, like, Stafford had that crazy touchdown rate, like you mentioned, over 7%. So, I mean, he's still probably going to be good, but I don't really want Stafford as my QB in a one-quarterback redraft league this year just because I'm buying at a peak with that touchdown rate. So if I'm taking one of these guys, I want to stack with the QB, and that's Chase with Burrow as well.
Yeah, I think that this, in the sense of dynasty, I could see the Puka. I could see, the fact that, Burrow. But in that sense, too, though, you're talking about the quarterback situation. I mean, Stafford is at that age and at that time in his career where, if they go and win a Super Bowl this year, I don't know if Puka still holds his value. Moving on, I think that conversation has been going on for a couple of years now with Stafford's neck injuries and everything. So it's hard to even say that. Stafford might end up just like stretching it out for the next 3 years, and it's not going to matter. But for the sake of this year, I think I do want Chase. I think that I am on the Bengals improving this offensive line a little bit. And you saw the target share from last year. It's up on the board right here. It's 185. That was when T. Higgins was fully healthy last year. And I've never seen T. Higgins play a full year. I mean, if you look at his situation down the board, he really rarely ever plays a full 15, 16 games in a season. I'm not going to bank on injuries by any means, but I think you're going to look at maybe a less healthy year for T. Higgins based off of just like the averages that you see across the board. So I think that those target shares could even go higher than what they are last year. I think that the receptions are definitely going to go up a little bit. I think Puka, I mean, even if he stays the same, he's still, what was he, the wide receiver 1 last year? So I think that Chase could easily grab that title this year. I think I'm going to bank on that. But once again, this is a situation where you can't go wrong. And this is why I chose it. I gave myself an easy one. I actually didn't even, whoever loaded up these graphics forgot the Lamar and Burrow one. So we're just going to keep riding with this one. And yeah, so I'm going Lamar.
Who forgot to load up those graphics?
You know what? I got a couple kids right now, and I'm glad I actually got some graphics in here anyway, to be honest with you. But
they're beautiful, man. They look great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dynatize, if you guys aren't familiar with that, obviously we can do compare players. We're going to throw a little video on here eventually just to plug them a little bit, but great content, great resources over there. So forgot the Lamar and Burrow one, but we ride. So I'm leaning Lamar over Burrow this year just because of the Declan Doyle effect. I think that you saw a stagnant offensive system for a few years now. You know, the Harbaugh system, everything, there had to be changes over there. And I think Lamar is fully on board with those changes. I think that there's a rejuvenation going on that team. You hear it, you're seeing it in practice right now. I think that, you know, you want a little bit of this Ravens offense, whether it's like the back end of getting, you know, a revived Mark Andrews or, you know, Zay Flowers is somebody I'm super high on this year. But I think even the rookies they tapped on could have some sort of value this year just because of this offensive system Doyle is going to essentially come in and implement. And I think that it's going to result in a, you know, borderline MVP season for Lamar. I think that he's going to be in the conversation. We didn't see a fully healthy Lamar last year. And when you're talking about Burrow, I think that, you know, it is tough to trust that O-line. I know that I just talked about being in on Chase, but realistically, we saw Burrow, you know, he does have these knocked out years where the O-line can't protect him and he's taking a lot of sacks. And even though I'm a little higher on that O-line this year, I think that the Ravens are just set up for a win now team. They're set up for, we're going for it right now. And I think that this is their push. And I think that Lamar Jackson is going to show that he definitely still has it. I think there's a lot of talk of regression with Lamar Jackson, but you know, for Dynasty, I'll lean Burrow for this one. You know, this is like one of the conversations that I'll say, give me Burrow long-term. I think that he has the ability to withstand the value system longer with Lamar being a more mobile quarterback. You know, he's more of that pocket passer with Burrow, but Lamar for this year, I think that I'm all in on him. Where do you guys stand on these guys right here? And then we'll move it to the next graphic because, you know, it is what it is.
For me,
Chris, how about you?
Oh, Chris goes first. Okay, go ahead.
Frankie, go.
No, Frankie. Oh, Frankie,
okay,
go ahead.
My bad.
No, all you, Frankie.
Quick one. It's really just with redraft. I'm taking Lamar, like you said, Declan Doyle effect. Obviously, the rushing upside, and it's more likely for me to see Lamar finish as overall QB1, just because you know he's done it before, and for a pocket passer like Burrow, it's a lot tougher. However, the one time I will try to target Burrow instead of Lamar is if I take Chase, just because I really want to pair Chase with Burrow. You got such a high weekly ceiling. Come fantasy playoffs, that's huge. So that's the only scenario where I take Burrow instead of Lamar in redraft. But I agree with you in Dynasty. Burrow feels safer long-term in Dynasty.
So in a super flex startup, I'm just going to say this. This is the first year I've seen Lamar and Burrow in the second round, where it's actually possible, even in Dynasty, to make that stack happen, which is insane to me because, you know what I mean? For the last 5 years, both these guys have been set it, forget it, first round picks. And that's juicy to me. You know, you can do the Chase in the first round and come around and get Burrow in the second round, which is like the dream situation in best ball, never mind in a Dynasty startup. Chris, give me your take on this real quick.
Yeah, so for Dynasty, I agree with you guys. I mean, if you got to pick one that you can see, not that we play Dynasty to project out 7-8 years down the road, but definitely Burrow is the one that you could see prolonging his career and still slinging it at age 38, 39 like Stafford is, right? But for this year, I'm going to lean Burrow. I'm going to go against the grain with you guys. I think all things being equal, they both have injury problems, right? I mean, Lamar always seems to get hurt at the worst time, right when the playoffs start, every time. Burrow, at least last year, came back for the fantasy playoffs. So that was fun if you had him. But I'm just going with the more consistent play. Lamar, to me, he's going to consistently go down this road, kind of like, I know I've used it before, but kind of like Donovan McNabb did in his career, right? Where he transformed from a rushing quarterback into a pocket passer. And so I think slowly but surely Lamar's rushing numbers will continue to slide. I think that Derrick Henry is going to get the ball plenty this year. They added some good receiving weapons for Lamar, but the problem fantasy-wise for that is if he throws more than he runs, that means his fantasy points come down. All right. And I know he does have one season on his resume with Todd Monken where he actually led the league in passing yards, ironically. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card for Lamar Jackson, but it happened. And so it's still in the range of outcomes. I just think, if we're going to bet on a guy to lead the league in passing yards, it's definitely going to be Burrow over Lamar. And I just don't know where Lamar's ceiling is at rushing wise now. Like last year was the first year in how long that he didn't lead the league in rushing yards for quarterbacks, right? Wasn't it Justin Herbert last year? And so again, Lamar is learning to take care of himself better. He wants to play a long time. He doesn't want to fizzle out like Cam Newton. So I don't know. I think it's just going to continue down that road, and I'm leaning Burrow this year. So
that's fair, man. I think that's definitely one of those situations. It really depends on health for me. I think fully healthy, I'm taking Lamar just because I know that he has been chilling on his running, but like I said, I think that he sees the window closing up a little bit. I think that Burrow does too, but I think that Burrow still has that. We're still locked in. He still has the contract with Chase and Higgins for the next 2 years. So I think that there's a little more security there. But let's keep it moving, man. And I got Frankie back on deck right now, and we're talking Drake London and CeeDee Lamb. You got the older. I guess now you can call CeeDee Lamb older. I think at this stage of the game, he's coming into his 28th year, 28th year in the world. But I think that this is a situation where you might want production over the actual value of a player. And I think that if you're playing best ball or redraft, it might be an easier decision. But where do you stand, Frankie?
Yeah, so in redraft, I'm going to go Lamb. He does go a few picks higher, but I see why you chose the two because Dynasty, it's a lot closer. London's younger and the arrow's pointing up. It just feels like one of these seasons, London is going to stay healthy, get the quarterback play he needs, and really pop off. We saw London have spike weeks last year, some really big ones. What I like about Lamb is last year his production was down because, he had that high ankle sprain. He came back, played a bit through it. Before the injury, though, he was really heavily out-targeting Pickens. Not saying it'll stay to that gap. I know Pickens, he was just joining the Cowboys at that point. But I still believe in Lamb as the top target for Dallas. Obviously, that's a much better offense, less quarterback concerns. But I could see if you want to take London in Dynasty just because he's younger. And you could just really see he has that profile to consistently be among the top scorers. So if we're saying Dynasty, I think I lean London in Dynasty and Lamb in redraft, which is a little weird to say just because obviously you could take Lamb and then hope he has the better year and try to flip him for London if you could. But that's where I'm at here just because I'm a really big believer that one of these years London's going to put it together.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think you're looking at it could be the year where they flip-flop. It could be the year where obviously you always see, the younger wide receiver eventually kind of take over and really just kind of move up as the older guy moves down. But Chris, I think that you and I have talked about the Cowboys ad nauseum to a degree. Most so, we're going to talk about Pickens later because he's still in the same range, almost going 3 or 4 picks after Lamb. They're going almost back to back nowadays in especially in best ball where, pick and spike weeks are really valuable, but in redraft too, where these guys are super close. Chris, where do you stand on London and CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does feel like London one of these years is just going to pop off for a top 5, top 3 even type season where he goes for 100+ catches and 1,500 yards. But if you can't do it this year with Tua, like Tua's the perfect kind of quarterback to do it with, right? He's not an elite level guy, but he's super accurate. He locks in on the top receivers in this, and in this offense, he's just got London and Pitts. I'm sure Bijan will probably get a 20% target share too with Tua there, but that's not going to matter. I mean, he got a 40% target share almost with Penix. Now Tua is more accurate, so I think it's in the cards, but I'm still leaning CD. With Pickens there, this offense is just insane. I have way more trust in the Dallas offense than in what's going on in Atlanta, and I'm just going to take that bet in the second round. This isn't the area where I want to be taking flyers, right, or gambling. I don't need to gamble that London needs to hit top 5 numbers. I know CeeDee Lamb can do it. I've seen it before. Pickens was healthy all of last season. That doesn't mean he's going to stay healthy all of this season, right? Or do something stupid and get suspended. I don't know. I don't think he will, but I'm just saying it might not even matter. The Dallas offense is so awesome. I just rather lay in on CD. And dynasty wise, that one's tougher, but I'm still going to lean CD. I don't know. London's a little sexier on the open market. I think you can get more for him probably. It's really tight, but I'm still going to lead CD. I think he's got 1 or 2 top 5 seasons left in him.
We got a question in the chat right here talking about Lamb. Obviously, conversation where Jefferson's popping up. Lamb versus Jefferson in redraft. I think I'm going CD. I'm going Jefferson on this. Right. I don't know. I think that if you're looking at it from a perspective of just this year in redraft, yeah, I want Jefferson. I think that I'm in on the revival. I think that he was super frustrated last year. Obviously, JJ McCarthy is likely. This is with the assumption that JJ McCarthy is in the shadow realm, this year, and he's not going to touch the field. So I'm hoping that, we see a full year of Kyler, and I think Kyler understands that you have to make your stars happy. Kyler at least gets the fact, we saw him with DeAndre Hopkins. We've seen him with guys that, he gets that he's got to get the ball in these guys' hands. And I think that there is going to be an understanding that, that Jefferson's going to at least get, hyper targeted to a degree. And I'm banking on that. I think that I'm going to go with the ultimate ceiling play, and it's always going to be Jefferson in that sense. But where you guys stand on that?
Yeah, for me, it just really, I lean Lamb just because there's that slight risk that JJ McCarthy makes a couple starts. We're having those reports that it's a quarterback battle. I do think Kyler Murray will win it, but just because of that slight risk of it happening again. I had Jefferson in one of my leagues last year, one of my bigger leagues, and it was frustrating with McCarthy, and I don't want that again. I was high on McCarthy coming into last year. That looked totally wrong after 1 year. We never want to give up on a player after one season, but he was just abysmal. So I don't want any part of that risk. That's fair. I'll still take Jefferson if I have a late first-round pick. Not saying I'm going to totally fade him, but if we're comparing between him and Lamb, slight lean to Lamb just for that reason.
Fair.
Yeah, I got to lean. I'm leaning CD as well. I'll take Jefferson if he falls in my lap like the last startup we were in and he fell to the 212. I wasn't letting him go to the third round. But again, it comes down to quarterback play. I trust Dak over Kyler, JJ McCarthy, or Carson Wentz because, if Kyler gets benched in week 5 or 6, McCarthy plays 2 weeks, and then it's Carson Wentz the whole second half of the season. Now that actually might not be that bad for Jefferson. But I'm just saying, you don't have that issue at all in Dallas. Why worry about it? Again, in the second round, that's not where you want to be making those kind of bets. In the 7th, 8th, 9th rounds, sure. Then I could get a little more frisky, but I'd just rather take the safer situation in the first 2-3 rounds and know what I'm getting.
Oh yeah. See, I'm going I like to just send it, baby. I'm just like, hey, if I get a little taste of Jefferson 3 years ago in the second round, I'm so happy. And you know what? I miss out on CD. I'm so overweight in CD too. Honestly, I got so much CD just because of the way that he's been going in drafts this year. I don't want. I'm a little biased, but CD's been my guy for so long. It feels kind of dirty going that way. All right, we're going to go to the next guy. And Chris, you got the next two up, but we're going to take a little break right here. So we've been using Dynatize for all of the graphics. Obviously, there's a lot of different things that you can do on this app. We're going to kick it over to a video, and then we're going to come right back. Yeah, so that's dynatize.com. Jump on over there. Definitely go check it out. You can always do a little promo there. Definitely DM me and we can talk a little bit and just go have some fun and play around in there, man. You can use it for so many different things, and it's been changing the game a little bit. So I think you're only going to see that site itself rise up. But all right, Chris.
Absolutely. If you're a portfolio player, man, it is. I got lost on it today.
I'm not an analytics guy, so I let other sites do the analytics for me, and damn, do they do a good job with that side of football? I'm as far as I go, I watch football and then bang, I just decide if I like a guy or not. But I can go real deep into things that I don't have the time to look into myself. So, all right. Chris, we're talking Omarion Hampton, Devon Achane right now. We just saw, obviously, Achane come out, say he wants to be the rushing record guy this year, and he wants to run for 5,000 yards. And, I mean, it's scary out there. But, obviously, I love him on Miami this year. I think that he's been a redraft target through and through. But you got Hampton, obviously, coming in with McDaniel. And the fact that, you got somebody – that has changed the game for offensive coordinators out there in the recent 5-6 years that we've seen him in the league. So which guy are you tapping right now for this year and then in Dynasty?
All right. So you threw this one at me, and man, for me, I've been taking a bunch of Hampton and I just can't go against that. These two guys are going in different directions, where we got Mike McDaniel, the efficiency king for running backs, going out to LA, and Devon Achane gets Malik Willis to throw some little extended handoffs to him. Because, we want to pound that Malik Willis can't throw to his running backs. But, they were saying the same thing about Cam Newton until he had Christian McCaffrey, right? So I'm not against Achane getting a bunch of those dump-offs and a lot of the work here. I just think that all of these efficiency numbers, and you look at it, and it was 7-0 in favor of Achane last season. But, whatever volume ones are there, it was because Hampton missed 8 games. But as far as those efficiency numbers go, they're going to go down. There's no Tyreek Hill, no Jalen Waddle to take the attention away from the defense. Nobody is double teaming Greg Dulcich. All right. At least not yet. But I'm just taking the one moving in the right direction, and who knows how high it could go for Hampton. It's realistically in the cards for him to, I don't know. I don't want to say RB1, but maybe RB3, like right behind Bijan and Gibbs, if his touchdown total gets up there. And that's ultimately what it comes down to for me. Like, who would I want in the fantasy playoffs that I think could run hot and get me to a championship, right? Do I think it's the Chargers offense and their number one weapon, or the Dolphins offense? Who do I want to be watching there? right? So I'm taking Hampton in redraft and definitely in Dynasty. I'm pretty confident about this one. If I get burned, fine. I don't think it'll be by much unless there's a big injury. I love Hampton, and so I'm in on it.
Hell yeah. Frankie, how you feeling about these two?
Well, in redraft to start it off, I'm not taking either of them because I'm just hammering Brock Bowers in the second round. But if I have to choose,
he might not be there.
Yeah, if he's not there, I lean Chase Brown just because I love the monster usage with Cincinnati in the passing game as well. Love the offense. But between these two, I would lean Hampton just because he's in a better offense, like you said, Mike McDaniel there. HN, you spoke about how, going from Tua to Malik Willis, even if Malik Willis will check it down more than we expect, we have to think it's going to be at a lower rate than what he had with Tua for HN, right? And really, the main factor is just I think the Dolphins are going to be a complete disaster. Like, that receiving core is just one of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, you're not really putting Malik Willis in a spot to succeed. Yeah, you want to run the ball like crazy, but what's going to happen when you're down 21-3? Like, they got rid of some pieces on defense. This could be the worst team in the NFL. So HN is one of my biggest fades, even though I love him as a player. But in Dynasty, like, maybe I would wait for this year and maybe if I'm right that he has a disappointing season, and try to buy him heading into next year. So yeah, to sum it up, Hampton with McDaniel, I like him. Although I want to note that I know some people are like Keaton Mitchell won't be a factor, but like they signed him immediately after Mike McDaniel went there. When Devon Achane came out of the draft, we didn't look at Achane as a workhorse. He just became that with McDaniel. McDaniel loved his speed. Achane has a similar size to Mitchell. Not saying Mitchell's going to suddenly be this heavy usage running back, just saying that he could be a change of pace, and he could have a couple spike weeks, Mitchell. I like taking him in best ball. But that's just an added note to this Hampton little blurb of mine. But yeah, leaning Hampton over HN in this comp.
Yeah, I think that's how I stand in redraft, but it's really tough for me. I think that Achane, it could go either way. There's no in between for him. And I've been saying this all off season. He's either going to be the set and forget it RB1 this year. Like, he's got that potential where it's like he's CMC on Carolina, or you know what I mean? Like, or Chubb on the Browns, or like just a guy that's going to get hyper usage and just be like, as long as his body withstands the usage, there could be a massive just like spike. And then ultimately in Dynasty, he becomes the biggest sell in the world, because I don't want to value this guy anywhere after massive usage and in the second contract year and all this stuff. But like at the same time, you're right. Hampton is just safer. Hampton is in a situation that is just positive for me, and I want to target guys in positive situations. You're going to be working with negative game script no matter what. I don't love going for that garbage time guy, that guy that like you're going to hope and pray is going to get like this usage spike when the game's out of hand. It's like not a present. You can't like bet the house on that. I'm not going to just like hope and pray that this guy is going to just get a spike week because, they're down 21-3 and they're going to dump off every 5 seconds. It's not how I play the game. You know what I mean? I got to see like the positive game script. I got to see that the offensive scheme is healthy, and it's just, it's tough. It's a tough click. And you're right though, Frankie, I'm not going with either of these guys if I'm in redraft and they're looking at me. I'm just going to wait it out. I do love Chase Brown this year too. All right. I don't know why I gave me this duo right here, but I this was like by chance. I was just going down the line, picking the guys, and I just, it is what it is. But I got Tetairoa McMillan or George Pickens. I think that you're looking at somebody as a rookie doing incredible things. Obviously, 122 targets and an anemic offense is juicy. I think that you're talking about a Bryce Young problem, and I've talked about this in nauseum about McMillan, where, I'm scared of his quarterback. I'm really nervous about Carolina. I think that ultimately it comes down to, can Bryce Young keep it together and make a jump? And I don't feel confident that he can, honestly. I don't feel like he's going to suddenly have it this year and become this like the guy that gets a second contract. I think he's going to be the next Tua, or like in this situation where they don't want to pay him and they're going to say, we'll re-roll and hope for the best. If they have a higher pick this year, they might even wait it out and let him walk next year if he doesn't make that jump. So is that going to help McMillan? Actually, maybe, like it might actually be beneficial if Bryce Young moves on, and then I might end up going in and I'm not going to say McMillan's not going to produce, but I think George Pickens is just scratching the surface of what he can be. I think that we're talking about a guy that finally got put in a good situation last year and had good quarterback play for the first time in his career. And he showed that he's more than just like a fly route guy, somebody that's, in his early years, he was like contested catch monster. And that's all he did. He just did contested catches in Pittsburgh and was a guy that, could make over the top circus catches. And we just saw him run a nuance of routes. And we saw him essentially take over when CD went down as like the guy that was doing it all, inside, outside. They had him lined up everywhere on the field, had him using some slot usage there. And I think that you saw the versatility last year. You saw the ultimate ceiling Pickens, and I think that I'm buying in on that. And I think that I'm fully in on Pickens picking up where he left off last year. I think a lot of people are saying he's going to regress a little bit, but I just don't see it. I think that easily can get 137 targets again. I think that he can definitely get close to 100 receptions next year as long as Dak Prescott stays healthy. That's really the big thing in Dallas. That's the only worry I have. I think that that's the worry with everywhere, right? The quarterback's got to stay healthy for the wide receiver. Like it's not something that you can worry about across the board, but are you guys simpatico with me on this? We don't have to spend too much time on here, but like if you're talking about next year, is there a world where you take McMillan in any format though? Like as far as dynasty goes? I'll go with you, Frankie, first.
For me, for redraft, for sure, Pickens, although I'm not even taking him. I'm going Chris Olave at that ADP. I love what he could do with Shuck and Kellen Moore calling plays. But for this in Dynasty, I'm going McMillan. I love what he showed as a rookie. Like you, I'm skeptical with him with Bryce Young. But I think the Panthers will move on from Young probably maybe after this year. Like McMillan reminds me a lot of Drake London in 2023 when he had Desmond Ridder going into year 2. They just need a QB change. I'm not a believer in Bryce Young. He's never even averaged 200 passing yards per game. But I'm a big believer in McMillan's talent. So in Dynasty, I lean him over Pickens.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Pickens both ways. I just like the better offense in this case. I cannot watch Bryce Young play football, and it's just not. I mean, I don't know. It's nothing against McMillan. I think talent-wise, they're both pretty similar. But Pickens, man, he's playing for a contract. Just like last season, and seeing what he did last year. With an early pick where you got to take these guys late second, third round. I don't know that they either really falls to the fourth in Dynasty, or definitely not redraft. I'm just taking the guy that has the better potential for the 10+ touchdown season, really. And that's what I'm trying to hit on right here. I think people compare him to T. Higgins, right, with the explosive offense and everything, but Pickens did what he did last year was way more than T. Higgins has ever done across a full season. So we've seen it. And whether Pickens ends up signing long-term with Dallas or he ends up going somewhere else, I'm not really that worried because the situation can't be any worse than what McMillan's is. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Frankie, you're up, baby. And we're talking quarterbacks, man. We're dropping a spicy one. Honestly, I think that for this year, you could go either way on this. So I'm curious, Frankie, who you taking, Trevor Lawrence or Jackson Dart?
I'm going Trevor Lawrence here. I love what he did in the second half of last season in his first year with Liam Cohen. I love how Liam Cohen really gets Lawrence involved running the ball in the red zone, like career high in touchdowns. And I did tweet this last year heading into the season. I noticed that that's a common thing with Cohen. I'm going to have to try to find the tweet in a bit, but he likes to use his quarterback. Like, here's an example. I even tweeted this, like, a 1st and goal from inside the 5. He just calls a draw, doesn't even hand it into the running back. He was really prominently featuring Lawrence there. And obviously the Jags have a great receiving core with Parker Washington, Brian Thomas, Jacoby Myers. Jackson Dart showed a lot as a rookie, but feels like more injury risk than Lawrence. And I know everyone's excited about Malik Neighbors' recovery, like the positive news, but I'm still taking a cautious approach, and maybe like next year is the year where this offense comes together. Also, I'm not really a fan of what the Giants did with their offensive coaches, bringing in Matt Nagy. That's kind of uninspiring. Then you got Greg Roman too. Like, I'm not a big fan of that. So that also pushes it in Lawrence's favor for me.
Yeah, you made so many good points, and the Nagy situation. I think that, I don't know why you're choosing these coaches for a developmental quarterback. And I'm not calling him somebody that's not a very good NFL quarterback already, but you obviously need to nurture and develop these guys still. They're not ready. And a lot of, guidance is needed for somebody like Jackson Dart, who is out in the media and definitely likes to have fun and also needs to prep and take the game really seriously too. So it's like, Daboll, you could say a lot of negative things about him, but my man knew how to reel in quarterbacks and knew how to tighten them up. Like he did it with many guys. And you're talking about Daniel Jones, somebody that nobody valued highly, essentially revived him. He kind of had that top 10 quarterback usage under Daboll, and then you can kind of go down the line a little bit. But before we move on to the next guy, Chris, how you feel about these two? I think that
it's
guys
easy. It's T-Law. I mean, give me the Liam Cohen situation. One receiver goes down, boom, just slide in the next guy. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just a better offensive environment there in Jacksonville, and T-Law is just scratching the surface of what he could actually do. Based on the last 2 months of last season, we'll see. I'm excited for T-Law this year. Not that I hate Dart; his ceiling's great too. I just feel safer with taking Lawrence, and it's not just safeness. It's the ceiling is there easily for another top 5 season.
Yeah. Morstein's bringing up a good point, man. If you guys saw that Harbaugh interview, that prep speech, that was, oh man, cringy. I wanted to walk out of the room, and I was just watching the video. So
was it as bad as
question before we go to the next one?
Saying Duval though at the beginning?
True.
I mean, that's what we're getting at, though. The offensive environment is better with Cohen versus Matt Nagy. Just scares me.
Yeah, you could say anything about Cohen, but you know what I mean? He absolutely is an offensive guy. He's somebody that is going to bring good schemes and really just set their players up for success. But we got a question. Yeah. I think Orphic Boo. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but trade question. So we got 12-man, 1 QB, start 10, no TEP. So what do we got here? I'm looking at it. What is this? Is this?
It's JSN and Bijan on one side. Genty, Achane, AJ Brown,
and what the hell?
Is that dynasty or redraft?
Yeah, it doesn't say if it's dynasty or redraft. I'm gonna assume if it's right now, it'd be a dynasty question.
Yeah, probably.
JSN and Bijan for Genty, Achane, AJ Brown, Denzel Boston.
Bijan. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go JSN Bijan because they're the two.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're getting like 2 top tier assets. Obviously, AJ Brown might eat this year, but you're talking about dynasty. You're looking at Genty maybe being in the second with Achane, and then everybody else is way back there. So I got to go with the 2 hammers with JSN and Bijan too. All right. Hell yeah. I mean, that was a mouthful though, man. That was a lot. All right. So we're going next guy, and I think this is you, Chris. So we're talking James Cook and Jonathan Taylor. These guys are dead even, honestly, in ADP. They are. I've seen Cook go a little higher, and I've seen JT go a little higher. It depends on what room you're in, honestly. But James Cook or Jonathan Taylor, who do you want this year?
All right. So I did a lot of research today on these two. It was so tight. And I mean, in my dynasty rankings, I moved Cook ahead of JT last month. And then I'm looking at the numbers today and I'm like, man, JT was awesome when Daniel Jones was playing last year. But then he wasn't so awesome the last half of last season either. And age-wise, they're a year apart. All right. JT's 27 and a half. Cook 26.8. Cook is signed through 2029 now. JT is on a contract year. So that's juicy for him. I mean, because this is going to be his final chance at a big contract, right? For Jonathan Taylor. And what you're really doing is making a bet on JT, whether you think he's actually going to be, a Hall of Fame type player. Is he going to play into his 30s? I'd bet on JT doing that more so than James Cook, right? Not that James Cook is his brother, but look at what happened to Dalvin Cook, right? And James Cook is putting up similar numbers right now to what Dalvin did. Dalvin caught the ball a little more, and that's the buzz out of Bill's camp, is the hopefulness of Cook being involved more in the passing game. But I think that's just coach speak. I think that the Bills, Joe Brady got promoted. Why are they going to change anything, right? They've been successful doing it. They kept Ty Johnson and Ray Davis there. They're adequate backups. They've got their roles, right? Ty Johnson steals all the little receiving touchdowns here and there, and Ray Davis does nothing unless James Cook gets hurt. Then he's a very good backup. But Jonathan Taylor doesn't have anybody behind him, right? It's 40-year-old Seth McGowan and DJ Giddens, and I don't know which one's going to be the backup. But it doesn't really matter. That said, I'm going to lean the younger guy with James Cook on both fronts. I don't trust Daniel Jones to stay healthy and pull it off what he was doing last year with this offense. They were running so hot, and that efficiency level, I just don't know if it's going to be there again. I think that losing Pittman actually is going to hurt them more than they think. Pierce is already banged up. Well, we knew that it was an ankle injury from along last year. But who knows if he starts the year on the pop or week 1, week 2, week 3 when he's back. I just don't, again, it just comes down to the better offense. And I mean, when you've got James Cook and Josh Allen there, I know that offense is going to be good. I don't know that the Colts offense is going to be good. And I know that JT played. Did he play every game last year or missed one? I think he might have missed one. But the 3 prior years, 14 games, 10 games, 11 games, right? So I don't know, man, if he can do it. I'm just, again, it's splitting hairs. It's not like I'm dropping Taylor massively in the rankings. I'm just, if I got to split hairs, I'm going Cook.
Frankie, how you feel about these two right here?
I got to go Jonathan Taylor just because what he was doing when Daniel Jones was healthy last year was insane. I know he tailed off at the end of the season, but remember, before Daniel Jones tore his Achilles, he also played through a fractured fibula from weeks 12 to 14. So that caused some of it caused Daniel Jones not to play as well, which in turn made it tougher on Taylor. But yeah, just to read out the numbers from weeks 1 to 11, when Jones was fully healthy, Jonathan Taylor, 27.4 points per game. Now, not saying he's going to do that again. Probably Jones is not going to be nearly as good because he's playing off the torn Achilles, but it just shows what JT's ceiling could be just as a total focal point in this offense. He doesn't have like Josh Allen taking away some touchdowns that Cook does, even though Cook's been a touchdown machine the last 2 years. I just feel like Taylor, you saw what he did last year, even with 18 to finish with. So feel like a higher ceiling there. I'm going to go JT. But I do like Cook as well.
Yeah, I think that, for JT, it's reliant on Daniel Jones' health, right? I think you look at the splits and you just mentioned that it is night and day. We're talking about like RB2 to RB19. That's kind of the dramatic drop off from these situations right here. So I got to see Daniel Jones. I know that he's not going on PUP and he's going to probably be ready for week 1. I got to see that he's mobile. I got to see that he's able to, a lot of that value came from these passes and this, we're talking about what does he have? 10.4% of the targets. And then obviously those touchdown rates is insane. Rushing touchdowns, 18. I mean, I could see him dipping a little bit in touchdowns and efficiency, but still holding that value. I don't know. I think that I do want Cook for this year, and then we can reassess. But I think that it's so close that I hate it. We're doing this, and we're saying we're going to stand on business, but it's like at the same time, I see that vision for both of these guys. I do, but give me Cook. I got to set and forget it. You know what? Keep it moving. I got nothing else to add into that. So, all right, we're gonna talk about our favorite guys after this one right here. So, Frankie, I'm going to go to you after this one and just say, who do you leave the draft with? Who do you want this year? We got Chris's dog finally jumping in after being quiet for so long. All right, we're talking a juicy one right here. So, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, JSN, obviously, we're talking about a career year last year. The targets still favor Amon-Ra St. Brown, but every other metric, receptions, everything, but they're a lot closer than you would want to see. I think you look at these numbers and they're not like he's absolutely dominating any of these numbers. They're very, very close. And, a lot has changed for JSN. We're talking about a new offensive system, a new offensive coordinator. And I think that they know the Seahawks. They're going to game plan for you a little better. I know that it was almost impossible to stop JSN, but like really getting a full year of revived Sam Darnold is going to do something in these defenses. They're going to have a little more preparation when it comes to this offense. I think that you're going to be looking at some regression. You're going to be looking at a guy that is still going to produce at a high clip, and I don't want you to take this and clip it and say, oh, this guy's so down on JSN. I love JSN. All right, you guys have been watching me. I love JSN. But in this sense, I want to wait for Amon-Ra St. Brown this year. I don't know if I want to go and jump up and take a JSN and redraft. In Dynasty, I'll click JSN all day. But in redraft for this year, I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown has a very good chance at outproducing JSN this year. I think that you're looking at it from a perspective of, you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown's numbers, they are the same this year, last year, consistent as hell. Honestly, really almost the same amount of targets, production. The fact that JSN had a career year and he's not that much higher, you know what I mean? Still has less targets, 2 more receptions. I mean, you're not talking about a guy that just like destroyed Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. He was really close in a career year where Amon-Ra St. Brown was just doing his thing that he always does. I mean, I think that you're looking at an offensive system that is not going to break with Goff. And obviously, you're looking at Gibbs and everybody. I could go down the line, Jameson, Williams, I just think the consistency is always there. They know how to work together. There's no changes in this offense. I'm not going to say that JSN is not going to be a top 5 wide receiver. He absolutely will be, but he might be 5, and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown might be 4. And I don't know where you guys stand at this. I'll go to you, Frankie. What do you feel that just shift a little bit on here? You want to go Amon-Ra St. Brown, or you going JSN?
I'm going to go with JSN just because I know obviously lost Clint Kubiak. That's a huge loss, but the new OC Fleury could be good as well. We could accept, though, that that's a downgrade. But really the thing is, like, JSN's career high last year, receiving yards, 1,793 yards. St. Brown's highest was 1,515. And that's only in JSN's third year in the league. You see those efficiency metrics there, 11 yards per target. You got the 11.25 ADOT compared to St. Brown's 8. You know, JSN runs deeper routes, so you could have those higher spike weeks in terms of yardage. I get why you and others are starting to lean St. Brown. Like, the Lions' schedule looks nice. They're a better offense. For me, just like, the league's so unpredictable. I don't want to look at schedule too much. Like, we talked about the Colts. Who would have thought they'd look like the best team in the AFC in the first half of last year? No one did. So it's hard to really emphasize too much schedule. Yeah, it's very true. We're splitting hairs here. I'm just going to lean JSN. He just feels more explosive. He is more explosive. But I get that, you know, you're considering St. Brown's high floor. Like, he's been a consistency machine.
Definitely. Chris, you got any take on these two guys before we move it on?
Yeah, I'll just keep it quick. I mean, JSN and Dynasty, just because of the age, the two are very similar. But JSN is, to me, one of the top 3 receivers. You know, you could argue him against Chase or Puka if you wanted to. However, for this year, I think that these efficiency metrics are going to go down for Seattle. Darnold the last 2 years has been awesome. I just don't know that Seattle's going 15-2 again this year. And the only thing that could end up happening is they actually throw the ball more because they're trailing a little bit more. So then he actually has more pass attempts, but then the efficiency comes down and Shaheed gets a little bit more involved. AJ Barner progresses a little bit more, right? It's so tough, and Amon-Ra's finished wide receiver 3 the last 3 years in a row now. Like, I just don't see things changing there. Like, I don't see any volatility. You mentioned 1,500 yards as his high for Amon-Ra, but what has he done it 3 years in a row now? Right? So, I mean, I'll take that. Again, I mean, I love JSN too, so it's not like I think he's dropping below wide receiver 5 or anything like that. But
yeah, I mean, in with JSN, you are right though. I mean, somebody's got to step up, or realistically, JSN's the show again, and we could be just talking nonsense right now. I mean, I know that Kubiak left, but really, you know, he still would have to share targets with somebody that would have to step up, and we haven't seen it yet. We don't know what Shaheed or Horton or anybody in this offense can possibly be. AJ Barner, you know, was AJ Barner, but he's kind of an inline tight end. He's not like the be all, like, you know, guy that's going to be a Kelsey or a Kittle or somebody that is going to be that guy that is demanding targets and running routes. You know, it's so we are splitting hairs, baby, but that's what this is all about. We are neck and neck ADP.
We gotta make these calls though. First and second round picks, you got to make these calls.
Nobody's really talking about, I mean, everyone's kind of talking right now, but it's camp hype, it's everything else. You know, I think that ADP talk is still relevant, you know, because a lot of people are definitely drafting it. We're getting a redraft season right now. But speaking of that, Frankie, I appreciate you joining us tonight, man. I you know what? We got to get you back on here, bro.
Yeah, this was great. I would love to come back. Great. I like coming on as a guest often because you learn more and you get better. Like, sometimes you hear little angles you may have missed. Like, it's hard to cover every single little thing. So it's great to come and have this discussion, and thanks for having me.
That's it, baby. Iron sharpens iron, and man, you're sharp, bro. So I love having you on here. Before we get out of here, though, I want you to drop the guy that you've been tapping everywhere. And that doesn't matter the format, best ball, or obviously it varies a little bit. But who do you say, I need this guy for 2026?
Yeah, so it's Brock Bowers, you know, generational talent at tight end. We saw what Bowers did as a rookie. Last year, the production was down, but A, he played through injury. B, the coaching staff was a disaster with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. Kelly got fired in week 11. It was just a mess. The offensive line was so like a turnstile, couldn't block anything. Bring in Clint Kubiak. We saw what he did with the Seahawks with JSN. Kubiak's developed into one of the best play callers in the NFL. I think Kubiak's going to put Bowers in spots to succeed. You think about the Raiders' O-line, yeah, it was horrible last year, but this year, they signed a good center in Tyler Linderbaum. And just by bringing in Kubiak and, a much more stable, competent scheme, the blocking will look better just because of that. And then, Kirk Cousins comes in. Obviously, Cousins is past his prime, but Cousins played with Kubiak before when they were with the Vikings. So there's some familiarity with the scheme. So if Cousins is forced to play, longer than we think, because I know the Raiders are saying Cousins want him to play most of the year, but teams say this every year. The rookie's probably going to come in sooner or later. But even if Cousins does play long, I think I'm okay with that because he's experienced. He could pepper Bowers with targets, and he knows Kubiak's scheme. Now, then you consider, what if Mendoza's just really good and he comes in and takes over the job? Then you have a quarterback upgrade in that sense as well. You look at the Raiders receiver room, very weak. Jalen Naylor, Trey Tucker, they're okay supporting pieces, but by no means would you consider them a receiver 1 or 2. So Bowers is the receiver 1 in this offense. And, online, everyone's like, who's the next JSN? Who's the next JSN? We all think of receivers, but maybe it's just Brock Bowers is this year's JSN.
Hell yeah, man.
Excellent
I think
call.
that I'm with you. I think that
Bowers
all the points, obviously he's definitely a first round target. I don't care where you have to take him. I think that, I see him going in the mid first round and I say, that's fine. I think that he's one of the first tight ends I've been like, yeah, that makes sense. Chris, you just dropped a new pod today, man. Tell people where to find it and what you got going on.
So Birdhouse just dropped a training camp battles video this morning on the Dynasty Rewind. We talked Tua Penix, Kyler McCarthy. We talked some Bucks running backs, Jags running backs, hit up a few other spots. We'll probably do the same thing next week because we didn't even get into the wide receiver room battles. So there's plenty to talk about there, especially because a lot of teams have questions with their 2, 3, and 4 wide receivers. And plenty of value to be had late.
Hell yeah, dude.
You can guess right.
Yes. Frankie, what do you got going on for content? Tell everybody where to find you, what you have cooking, anything that you want to plug before we get out of here.
Yeah, sure. So you could find my fantasy football content mostly at Rotoballer and Fantasy Pros, all kinds of things going up there. I'll put up rankings at OTC Fantasy, a new site that came out. Always posting on Twitter and social different little tidbits. And always love to, debate, trash talk football. It's fun for me. So look out for that. And thanks again for having me on. It was a great discussion.
Hey, man, I appreciate you jumping on. If you guys aren't following Frankie, his Twitter handle is right above his name right there. Definitely click on that and go check him out. He's a good follow, man. Always funny, always fun to follow. So, and then obviously my co-host, Chris, I appreciate you so much, brother. Everybody that joined us today, appreciate you guys tapping in live every Thursday. Always come in and have fun in the chat. And then obviously don't miss our Devi shows. And we have IDP hits and everything's coming out on Dynasty Rewind. So definitely tap into those. We appreciate you guys and we'll catch you next week.